folks, and welcome to Subjective Thoughts. And our comic for today is Mark Hazzard, Merc, issue 6 by Marvel. Now there is violence, shooting, killing, blood, and murder in this one. So if you are in any way squeamish, you have been warned. Also, spoilers. Alright, here's the team. So, when we left off Mark in issue 5, there's the whole thing with Mel, that he wanted his help, and, well, Mel lied about it there a bit, about circumstances, and then ended up apologizing to Mark and Priestess, who helped him by inviting them to a Beethoven piano concert. And as I said in the end of that issue, I have no idea where this is going to go next. I feel like the first 4 issues were just like an origin for Mark. Not like, but to tell you the origin of, who Mark is and all that. And now I feel like the next 6 remaining issues, because this is a 12-issue series, are just going to be, all different missions, it seems like. At least from these last 2 that I've read. Okay, but let's get into it. So we start issue 6 with Mark being somewhere in the middle of Europe. Treetop has gotten him, Mark and Mel, a new contract. There's this, I think they're in Germany. There's this guy, Kurtz, or Krotz, I don't know how to pronounce German surnames, who is running for, well, what was it? Not president. Was president? No, I don't remember what he was running to be exactly. So a lot of people there. Oh yeah, president, sorry. Okay. So yeah, so he's an old man. So he's sitting there giving a speech. There's people with signs like cheering, yeah, Krotz for president, all that. And you see Mark on the podium with Mel and Treetop. And then Mark looks and you can see protesters. And then Krotz, I'm just going to call him Krotz, tells his security or police or whatever, go take care of these protesters. And one of these, actually, they also call them brown shirts, he approaches a woman that's protesting and punches her in the face. And if that's not enough, he's about to stomp her head in, it seems like. But Mark intervenes. He jumps off of stage and punches the guy and knocks him out. And the woman runs away. It's like so much for the damsel in distress. And you can see that Krotz isn't happy about this. And neither is Treetop. A bit later, Mark, Mel, and Treetop are in Hostel, a hotel, something like that. I'm guessing they're in Mel and Mark's room. Well, anyway, Treetop's getting on his case like, Mark, this is not the job. You're supposed to protect Krotz, not, intervene with protesters. And Mark's like, fuck off, Treetop. You didn't give us any details about this contract. So you can't, tell me what to do or give advice. ML is with him on this one. He's like, yeah, you kind of just got us for this contract and didn't give us that many details. And then Mark basically tells Treetop to fuck off. And Treetop exits the room angrily, slamming the door. And Mel says, don't you think you pushed him a bit hard there, Mark? And Mark says, I'm going to go for a walk and cool off. As he exits from the lobby, we can see the brown shirt that he punched in the lobby as well, looking at him. And then Mark's exiting, and we see someone in a long coat looking as the brown shirt guy follows Mark. He pulls out a knife, but of course Mark overpowers him. Gets the knife out of his hand and then, well, hits him again. Like, practically, boom. Oh, jeez, sorry. Got rid of that cough, but it was like I still have some remnants. And regularly slams his face into the pavement. I mean, he already was full of bruises. Now it's just going to be worse. Not to mention, he might have a possible concussion. So, that's that. And then he pulls out his gun, and behind him is the woman that he saved from the brown shirt guy. And he's like, the damsel in distress. And she's like, would you come with me? Her name is Frida. Frida takes him to her house where they watch a movie. There's also a crippled professor there. They watch an old war movie. Not like a fictional movie, but an actual a movie of what happened. And the purpose of this is that you could see a young Kratz. He was with the Nazi party, and he was a Nazi during the Second World War. And you can see him, sending his soldiers after Jews. And the professor explaining that, showing this, and then when they turn off the movie, he's like, me and my students have been trying to warn people of who Kratz, who his past is, and he's probably still like this today, but they won't listen. And Frida chimes in that the reason the professor is crippled because he sent his brown shirts, Kratz that is, after him, and they beat him so hard they crippled him. And Mark, we need to, because Mark said, why not go to the police? And the professor answers, the police are working for him, they're in his pocket. We need someone like you. And Mark is like, look, I'm a professional in my own right, I have a contract. And the professor's like, contract, what about a conscience? You also have that. And then I think the professor goes home. At first I thought it may be Frida's father, but no. The professor goes home, I think. And it's just Frida and Mark. She locks the door. And she approaches Marx and takes his signature cigarette out of his mouth. And starts to unbutton her shirt. Before that, she says, I didn't thank you for saving me the other day. And he tells her, this isn't going to change my mind. And she says, I know. And you know what they do after that. Then we are in the next day? Yeah, I think it was the next day. 1 second. Just make sure. Is it? 1 moment, please. Yeah, okay, yeah. It is the next day. Okay, yeah. It's the next day. Yeah. I think it's, okay, they're in a car. Mel, Mark, and Treetop, and I think Mark says, they were telling the truth, Treetop. And Treetop's like, we got a contract, Mark. And he's like, yeah, the contract. Okay, I'll get to this in the end. Okay, then they arrive at the place. Kratz is about to give another speech. The protesters are there. Mark even mentions, there she is. So as he's giving the speech, you can see some of the brown shirts. And one of them approaches Frida and stabs her. I think in the heart. And Mark's like, no, and he jumps off of stage. And before that, Mel even notices how Kratz is giving him like the dirty eye. And he's thinking, this is bad. Basically, Mark kills the brown shirt that murdered Frida. And then he he's like, no, he holds her. And it's too late, and then he's like, that's it. And then wait, because he has a confrontation with Treetop. Does that happen? Okay, yeah, there we go. Krotz sees this, panics and flees. And then you got, where are they? Where are the Bloody Butchers? Mel's trying to placate him, but it doesn't work. And Treetop says the contract again. And Mark's like, don't talk to me about the contract. And he hits Treetop in the face with a gun. Then he kills the other 3 brown shirts that are there. And then he's on the podium telling the people, look at what your leader has done. So maybe they were planning a re-election. And he says he killed Frida to stop her from revealing who he really was and still is. Okay, and then there's the confrontation. And Mel's still trying to stop him, like, Mark, stop, I'm not going to let you kill our client. And he's, out of the way, Treetop, I said now. And then he shoots him. He doesn't hurt him. I think he just grazed his leg with the bullet. I don't think it even went in. And then he says, by the way, I quit. And Mel's like, go ahead, you crazy bastard. And he's like, Mel, I never thought he would do this. I never thought. And he's like, I hope there's a doctor in this house. This is going to take him somewhere. And then Mark jumps in the car and starts to follow after Krotz, hoping to get him. And he's thinking he's probably ran back into his house. He's going to be there, but they'll be waiting. And he reaches his mansion, and yeah, there's Krotz's car. And he drives in, jumps out of the car, kills the first sniper, then kills the second sniper. And he kills another one, and then he goes into the house and I think kills the last man. While Krotz is calling, I think the police, like, come quickly. And then probably thinking he's still safe, he lights a cigarette. But then Mark comes in, and he's like, no, I'm going to take care of you, Krotz. And Krotz is like, no, wait, please. But before that, he tries to shoot Mark. He's like, come on. And then Mark grabs him. But then run police? Reporters as well from somewhere? And he's like, yeah, and Mark says, yeah, that's right, take all the pictures. And you can see Krotz from the flashes of the camera, and it kind of looks like he's crying. And then, I don't know, it seems like Mark just wasn't charged with anything, because he flies back. We can see him on a plane. So it's like, sorry, Frida, I wish I understood sooner. And thinking about Mel and Treetop, how they didn't understand. There's some things more important than money. And so, again, was he just released? Because he has killed over 10 people, I think. Right? Well, at least close to that. Well, I guess they're like, well, yeah, you did kill these men, but they tried to kill you, and you captured a Nazi, so, okay. I guess you can go. Or Mark just ran away, I don't know. Then, he gets out of the terminal and gets a cab back to his apartment. He's about to open the door, he inserts the key in, but he's like, fuck. This is Treetop's apartment, really, not mine. I guess he was renting from Treetop or something? Oh, and also, speaking of Treetop, when they were arguing in the hotel room, he's like, you also need the money, Mark. And so, so he's like, fuck, I can't stay here. So he goes down the stairs. And outside, a man pulls out a knife and he wants to rob him. He's like, I'm gonna attack you. Mark takes his almost finished cigarette, throws it in his eyes, and takes his knife from him and breaks it in half. He's like, yeah, what are you gonna slice me with? And then the man is terrified and runs, and Mark's laughing like a maniac. Then we are in the Lower East Side, or downtown, was it? We see Priestess going to see who's knocking at her door probably late at night, and it's Mark. And he's asking, do you mind if I crash here for a while, Priestess? And she's like, of course, Mark, as long as you need. We can see her, I don't know, maybe Mark's hurt or tired because she slings one of his arms over her shoulder, like, holds his back and helps him in. So I don't know. And that's it. That's where the issue ends. Okay, so first of all, this cover. I really like it. I like how Mark looks here. He's all serious. Loading his gun again. His signature cigar. This could be on a spy novel or something. So it's a really cool image. See? I like it. Okay, let me show you some art. So this is Krotz, the man in the reddish suit. There's Mel next to him, and I don't understand. Were they holding fucking torches, or was something on fire? Made me think that they were in the middle of a riot or something. Well, there's the brown shirt guy. There's Frida. You see she's being slapped. Now you see he wants to stop. Wait, did I say punched? Accidentally I said punched, but she was slapped. And you see it looks like he's gonna just smash her head in. Like, dude, what's wrong with you? And then Mark intervenes, you see? Kicking him. And then you got, you see they're in the nearby Gasthaus. Probably German word for hotel. I don't know. Shouldn't say. You see Mark arguing, like, fuck off, treetop. Like, look at that evil face on Mark there. Like, fuck, sit still. There's Mel. Okay. So yeah, it looks like the rest of the series is just gonna be like these singular missions and things that Mark ends up doing, because as you can see, we no longer go back to what's with his son, ex-wife, or that whole ordeal with his ex-wife's new husband, his employer, wanting to kill Mark. So looks like they dropped that one, maybe. Or who knows, there are 6 issues. Maybe we'll come back to that by the end. Yeah, this was interesting. I didn't think we'd go visit some Nazis in this one. And okay, I'll get to this. I find it funny. I get they're mercenaries, and this is just for money. But Mel defending a Nazi is hilarious. And not Mel, Treetop. Because Treetop is a black man. He's a black gentleman. And it's just, I didn't get it. He's just doing this for the money, but if we went back to those times, Treetop would have been, shoved into the camps. I mean, I get he's just defending the contract for the money, but like, dude, at this point, don't you find it a bit ironic who you're trying to defend? Even though he's gonna fucking pay you, but still. I didn't get it, it's a mercenary, it's not like you're working an ethical job or something, but you think, like, some lines you maybe shouldn't cross even for money. I mean, holy shit. Can you imagine what Kurtz would have done there? I mean, it was already kind of starting, And it's just, I don't know, I just found it so ironic. The Treetop was... And listen, Treetop, my man, haven't you learned already that maybe you shouldn't include Mark in these contracts if you want the money so much? You can see Mark's conscience won't let him do certain things. In this case, let the Nazi get away with murdering Frida. Because, what was he, I mean, if he didn't have that past to hide, he wouldn't have had Frida murdered, would he now? Well, that's the whole problem. If it's just allegations with no basis, you would have just, like, let them protest, it's fine. But it's not, because it's true. So yeah, that I found hilarious, because, I showed you Treetop there, I'll show you him again. Yeah, I just found it so funny. Is he has Treetop over there? It's like, dude. But I must say, I didn't think Mark would have shot him, but I guess he wanted to prevent, Mel and Treetop from stopping him. Which is why, again, I think the bullet just grazed his leg. I mean, he's still gonna need a fucking doctor, but I don't think he crippled him for life or something. But I wonder what this means in the future. Does that mean there'll be no more Mel and Treetop in here? Will they now be, well, maybe not necessarily enemies, but just not want to work with Mark anymore? Yeah, I'm surprised Treetop included him, considering the other works they've done and contracts that fell through because, Mark was trying to help someone in the middle of it all. I got that mission was it the first issue they went on? Where they went to stop this a dictator, but they were working for another dictator, effectively. So yeah, here it was Nazis. Yeah, in this case. Again, you think Treetop would, although, again, even if it's a contract like that, you should research into it, because they could trace back to you, and you kind of fucked. So I wonder what Mark's gonna do now. Still needs a job, I imagine, and also a place to live, it seems. Well, at least he has Priestess that'll help him out with that. What kind of missions and shenanigans is he gonna go on next now that, again, it could be that they'll go back to working together. I mean, it seems Mark has saved at least Mel's ass before. And again, it's not like he shot and killed Treetop. He just wanted to make sure they wouldn't get in his way. I just wonder, what did Mel think, not Mel, Treetop would think would happen? Like, did he think Cross would still pay them? I mean, one of the men you hired tried to, kill one of yours. I don't think he would have paid them anyway. So that's just fun. That's just so ironic. I mean, maybe that was the whole point, but yeah, it's just funny. So yeah, that's what happened in issue 6 of Mark Hazzard Merc. I definitely look forward to see what happens in the next one. But one more thing, I do think the pacing was maybe a little bit quick in this one. With, with Mark. Although, I mean, I guess it's not hard to convince you, or it's gonna take that long to say Nazi's bad. But I don't know, it feels like the pacing was maybe a bit too quick. But that's it. Regardless, there's always action and cool shooting in these, so I like it. Now, unfortunately, it's going to be a little while before I get back to these, because these are all the issues I have. At some point, I need to go and acquire from issue 7 to 12. So I don't know when I'll do that, but I'll definitely look forward to getting back to this one. Well, at least it won't be that important to remember what happened last time, because it seems like it's going to be a new thing each time. At least from these last two. Alright, folks, so that is it. Let me know what you thought of Mark Hazzard Merc, issue 6, and remember, collect what you're passionate about, share it on YouTube. Bye!